You are tuned in to another edition of Americana Music Profiles, brought to you by Americana Rhythm Music Magazine and AmericanaMusicMagazine.com. I'm your host, Greg Tutwiler. Let's jump right in to the next exciting interview. Singer-songwriter Maureen Toth was born and raised in Huntington Station, New York. It was during her college years where she realized writing songs and playing guitar was a form of expression that she truly loved. Although not a full-time musician, it is a full-time passion. Maureen has just released her fourth studio project titled Blur. On this episode of Americana Music Profiles, Maureen and I talk about her music, her passion, her career, and her latest CD. Hi, Maureen. Welcome to the podcast today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Glad that we could catch up. We were chatting a couple minutes ago, and you just got in from a European tour, so I appreciate you staying up a little bit longer to talk to us.
Thank you. I appreciate it, too.
I presume that was a musical endeavor that you were there for?
Actually, this one was just sheer vacation,
good.
And it was the first one we've taken in a little while. I haven't been to Europe in a beat, so it was great to get back. And we went to London, and then on to Bath, and then on to Edinburgh, and it was all locations were fantastic. So
that's cool.
It was a really great trip. Yeah.
Have you played there before? Is that something you've been able to do?
No, I haven't played there, but I absolutely would. It would just be a matter of organizing it and carving the time out of the schedule to do it. But it actually seems like London and Edinburgh are really big music cities.
Yeah.
They have a lot going on, so I hope so in the future.
That'll be good. Well, good. We'll hope that for you, too. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's back up a little bit. Tell me how this whole musical journey started for you. When did this become a real thing?
I have a number of EPs that I've done before, and this particular one, it's funny because some people are very clear about, okay, now I'm going to do this project and record it at this time and release it, etc. They're really organized in terms of that. My stuff tends to happen a little bit more organically. I would say that I started writing the songs for this EP a few years ago, and some of them were finished, some of them were half finished, some of them I hadn't written until recently, and then I realized, okay, this is the body of work, this is this particular time frame in my life, and I want to release this at this time now as a group. So it's sort of evolved in a natural way over the last few years in terms of becoming the EP that it is, and I think all the songs fit nicely in terms of my experience over the last few years and how that's affected me. Of course, everybody's music is a reflection, or most of the time a reflection of what's happening for them as individuals,
right.
and this certainly is that.
And we're talking about your new EP called Blur, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Is performing music, is that a full-time endeavor for you? Do you have other things that you do when you're not doing that?
Oh, yeah. So it isn't full-time. It is definitely I would say I have two things that I devote my energy to. One is I have a company in the entertainment industry that I run that is a below-the-line agency, which basically for people who are in the industry, they would know that term, but for people who aren't, I should say, it is below-the-line talent are the people in film and television that represent the crafts folks. So like director of photography, production design, costume design, editors, and those people we represent as a company, and we seek work for them and negotiate their contracts and keep track of what they're doing and help elevate their careers. So that is I think that's the right brain part of things. And the left brain part of things is writing music and recording and playing out and getting to work with great musicians, etc. So those two things I do. I do the job more in terms of hours, but the passion that goes with the music is equally as important to me. So those are the two things that I focus my energy on.
When did you get involved in the music side of things as an artist, performer? When did that start for you?
I would say that started I'm so bad with numbers sometimes, but I would say maybe 20 years ago,
Okay.
15 or 20 years ago, I started really writing music in a proactive way and doing various recording projects over those years. And I think this one is my fourth release, if I'm
Okay.
not mistaken. I'd love to be more prolific than I am in terms of people who can release albums every year or EPs yearly. That's a goal maybe someday.
Sure,
But
yeah.
for now, it's every few. And so yeah, I would say I picked up the guitar maybe around that time, and then or within a few years started to write and record and play out in support of those projects.
Did I understand correctly that you actually went to school for voice? Was that something you pursued educationally?
I did it, but not as a major. So
Okay.
I did voice study and voice, music, also acting and performing study while I was in college, and that was at Boston University. But it wasn't a major. It was more of a minor interest versus a major interest. Although I really loved those classes, were my favorites for sure.
Yeah.
And BU had a really great performing arts school with some fabulous teachers. So I took advantage of that while I was there. And then after that, I've studied with various voice teachers over the years intermittently, and just wanting to get better at being able to do it. Not so much because, the educational process I think is important. Some people have amazing voices right off the bat, but I always think learning from people who are really good at what they do is a great way to just try to elevate your game, for me anyway.
Yeah. Was there something, a moment or an experience that you recall that drew you from this idea of pursuing it kind of as a side thing to really wanting to be able to be creative and record and write and perform music?
I think, I don't know if it was one moment, but it was a realization at some point early on that for me, like, the creative process, I think, for everybody takes on different, people use different mediums to express themselves.
Sure.
And I feel like for me, music, soon after I picked up the guitar, even when I was still playing rudimentarily, I feel like I started to think to myself, this is a really important, it feels like an important thing for me personally to be able to express myself through music. So once I kind of recognized that, I thought, all right, well, let's just start doing it and see how easy it comes, or how not far I can go, but more of how does it feel to do this, and can I make stuff that people would actually consider listening to,
Yeah.
And so as it evolved, I really enjoyed the process. I met fabulous people who really amazing musicians I've worked with in the past, and the present too, and they are super supportive, as I think most musicians are, of each other.
Sure, yeah.
And so it's kind of evolved and has become something that is really important to me to continue to do and grow in. I don't know that I'll ever feel like, oh, hey, this is the time where I feel like I've arrived, per se, in terms of I don't need to learn anything new. And it's always a process,
Sure,
I think, for everybody.
Yeah.
But I love the work, and I don't really feel like I could live without it. And so I think that's when I knew that this was something that I just needed to continue to do, however it goes, like whatever time I have to commit to it, to continue to do that.
Yeah. When you get to share these with an audience, what does that look like for you? Venue-wise, do you get to tour? What is the performing out process look like for you with this?
Sure. No, that's a good question. For me, because I run a company out of Los Angeles, it really is mostly local because I have to be at a job on a daily basis. So picking up and touring, would work it into a schedule. I'd have to do it in advance. I'd have to carve out that time in a way that is a little bit more complicated because I have a job that's located here.
Right.
Now I can do my job from location, which is good, but it's not as simple. So lots of touring locally. I mean, not touring, but playing out locally.
Sure.
And I have done small forays out. Like we went to Carmel last year for the. It was a film festival, the Carmel. I think it's called the Carmel International Film Festival, but I have to double check that I have that exactly right, the title. But I had a piece of a song in one of the films.
Oh, good. Okay.
And so we went to support it. It was super fun, and the director is a client of mine in my other business.
Right.
And so it was great for him to have asked to use this small piece of music, and I loved that experience and going up there. But generally, I stay locally in LA and perform in LA when I can.
Is this when I was listening to some of the tracks on the EP? There's obviously other pieces of musicians involved. Do you go out as a band, or is it singer songwriter style? How does that work for you?
Mostly, I try to, unless the venue is really small and low key, then I'd probably be me and my guitar player.
Uh-huh.
It can be me, a guitar player and a percussionist, my drummer as well. But I like to have the band if I can, because I feel like, especially on this EP, some of my past EPs have been a little bit, I would just say gentler in energy, and this one is a little bit more, just a little bit more driving, a little bit more music focused in terms of, I mean, it's all music, but a little bit more rock focused in some ways than my past music has been. And so because of that, I feel like the energy that a band brings, that each piece, the bass player, a background vocalist, if I can have it, all of those pieces add up to a bigger sound that supports what these songs want to be. And I can do them in an unplugged way. It's just, and certainly that's how I write them, because it's just me in my living room writing. But I feel like what these songs are is really a full band performance. If I can, if I have the luxury to have everybody with me, that's what I prefer.
Yeah. And with it being an EP, a little bit smaller collection of songs, do you incorporate then some of your past work, or do you do some covers or some of the other artists' music? How do you do that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. We're doing a show on July 4th, and I have two songs from my most recent past EP, which was called Cut Flowers. And so I'm doing two of those songs along with all the songs on Blur. And that's usually what I do, although occasionally I will stick in a cover song that we've worked out that is fun. And actually, on my last EP, I recorded a cover song of a Blondie tune, Call Me.
Oh, cool.
And so I've done that one in the past. And it's, a different take on the song, because that song was done in a, kind of a fun, driving way, and mine is a little more laid back and mellow version of it. So, yeah, it's fun.
The songs on this record, did you write exclusively, or were they co-written with some of your other musician friends?
All of them I wrote, except for I had a little help on fundamental from my, and I say a little help, but he's all over this album. He's such a great talent, my guitar player, Carlos Calvo. So he helped write fundamental, and then he, in large part, brings the guitar parts to life. So I'm writing the melody and the lyrics, and then I hand it over to him and I say, what are you hearing? So even though I've written those pieces of it, he brings his take on guitar to every song. And the same things for the drums, and the same things for the bass. I don't write their parts. I let them write their parts based on what I show them in terms of melody and main guitar part. Or rhythm guitar is what I play. So I play the basic rhythm part and the melody, and then those guys fill in the blanks. So really, in reality, it's a collaboration, although I'm writing the main elements and letting them do their thing, because they're all so amazing.
And you had some pretty significant help on the production end, is that right, when it came time to produce the record?
Yeah, so Carlos Calvo produced along with Paul Smith, who produced with him. And both of those guys are really awesome at what they do. Paul has a really long resume as well, production-wise. And so, yeah, I couldn't be happier with just working with them.
Yeah.
They're both such great collaborators. They're so supportive and such nice, awesome people.